has the intelligence of a foolish child. Even if a great genius could somehow or other, after a time-consuming endeavor, count all the particles of dust on the surface of the earth, such a genius can never count the attractive qualities of the personality of Godhead, who is reservoir of all potencies. The purport, Prabhupada says, in reply to King Nimi's request that Navi again just describe all the qualities and pastimes of the Lord, she, Jamila, here explains that only the most foolish person would even attempt such a comprehensive description of the unlimited qualities and pastimes of the personality of Godhead. Such foolish, childish persons, however, are far more advanced than ignorant, materialistic scientists who actually try to describe all knowledge without even referring to the personality of Godhead. In other words, although it is impossible to describe the Lord fully, foolish, atheistic scientists attempt to describe all knowledge without even having reached the most preliminary knowledge of the personality of Godhead. Such atheistic persons should be understood to be short-sighted and of very weak intelligence, despite their showing material achievements, which ultimately end in great suffering and destruction. It is said that Lord Anantadev himself, with his innumerable tongues, cannot even begin to vibrate completely the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The example given in this verse is very nice. No human being can hope to count the number of particles on the surface of the earth. Therefore, no one should foolishly try to understand the Supreme Lord by his own tiny endeavor. One should submissively hear knowledge of God as it is spoken by God himself in Bhagavad Gita, and thus one should gradually be elevated to the stage of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, according to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. By tasting a drop of seawater, one can get a general idea of the flavor of the entire ocean. Similarly, by submissively hearing about the personality of Godhead, one can acquire qualitative understanding of the absolute truth, although quantitatively one's knowledge can never be complete. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshuminitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. There's a very similar verse in the 10th canto, 14th chapter, verse 7, from Brahma's prayers to Lord Krishna. So he says, in time, learned philosophers or scientists might be able to count all the atoms of the earth, particles of snow, or perhaps even the shining molecules radiating from the sun, the stars, and other luminaries. But among these learned men, who could possibly count the unlimited transcendental qualities possessed by you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who have descended to the surface of the earth for the benefit of all living entities? In the purport, it is said, Sri Sanatana Goswami further explains that the Lord manifested specific spiritual quality for the benefit of each living entity. So each one of us is attracted by a certain specific quality just for us. He knows who we are, what is our mindset, and he will give us that special quality to each and every one of us. So purport, it says, since there are innumerable living entities within the confines of the material creation, the Lord manifests infinite qualities, so one for each of us. Those every condition so can appreciate the Supreme Lord in a particular way. So you can just think a little bit, how do you appreciate the Supreme Lord? So how can we know Krishna? In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 72, in the purport, Prabhupada says, one can attain Krishna consciousness or divine life at once, within a second, or one may not attain such a state of life even after millions of births. So what makes the difference, 1 second or millions of births? Prabhupada says there are two things. It is only a matter of understanding and accepting the fact. So we must understand Krishna and accept him too. Not just understanding, we have to accept him. So what does this mean? Understanding means more like jnana. We know things. I'm not this body, Krishna's Supreme Personality of Godhead. But accepting means that we practice. Yes, okay. Yes, he is Supreme Lord. I'm his servant. I must actually serve him if I really believe he's the Supreme Lord. I must surrender to him, which is the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. And so in the fourth chapter, verse 9, Janma Karma Chibishatman, whoever knows my qualities and my karma, my work, and my birth, then he will come back to Godhead. He will, after leaving this body. So, in a lecture on that, Janma Karma Chame Divyan E Te Veti Yo Tatvataha. So, if we understand this, we can go back to Godhead. Now, in his lecture, Srila Prabhupada, on this verse, he said that, yes, even if you don't understand, if you simply try to understand, then you can go back to Godhead. So Prabhupada always gives us a nice concession. And so his concession is that we should at least try. Try to be a devotee. Try to understand Krishna, and you can go back to Godhead. So yes, so this is about understanding. What about accepting Krishna? Srila Prabhupada said in many, many lectures that we should chant Hare Krishna like a child crying for its mother. And one of his first lectures on the holy name, he said that Mother Hara helps the living entity achieve the grace of Hari. So if we cry loud enough for Radharani, our mother, she will pick us up and give us to Krishna. So we must cry and beg Krishna, please accept me, please accept me. And Prabhupada did say that also. And he also said, when we chant really nicely, attentively, Krishna comes. And Krishna says, please accept me, please accept me. So that's what we have to do. And when we wake up in the morning, Srila Prabhupada said, and it's true, we have so many problems we have to solve. It's the material world. But Prabhupada said, no, you only have one problem. What is your one problem? How to accept Krishna. And he comes in so many different ways. So we must accept him as he comes during our day. And so, yes, so how to increase our attachment for Krishna? Yes, Prabhupada gives us a 4-point program in the 9th canto. Let's see if I have the verse number. No, sorry. Anyway, 9th canto. If one daily sees the deity in the temple, so that's one thing, we just see the deity, make offerings to the deity, worship him, chant the holy name, and preach. These 4 things. If we do, we will get attachment to Krishna. There's a Maya Saktamana Partha Yoga Nyunshan Samashitaha, chapter 7, verse 1. That's how we can get attached to Krishna. Now, so there are 2 things important, deity worship, and which is Panchachiki path and Bhagavata path, Shravanam Kirtanam combined. Now, if we go to Canto 2, Chapter 4, verses 15 and 16, we'll find some wonderful verses that explain how to make progress on the path of bhakti. And so we do have, and these 2 verses, 15, 16, and Canto 2, Chapter 4, are connected to the most important verses of Bhagavad Gita at the end, 65 and 66. Man mana bhaktamad bhakto majati mam namaskuru. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me. So we do have 9 processes of devotional service, but Bhagavad Gita is just like a seed. And Bhagavatam, the seed has grown into a plant and is giving us flowers. So Shukadeva Goswami explains that there is one more, he adds an extra one to the 9 processes of devotional service. So I'll sing the Sanskrit, and then I'll read the English and see if you can catch which one is extra. So here we go. Yat kirtanam yat smaranam yadikshanam yad vandanam yat shavanam yararhanam lokasa sadhya vitanoti kamisham tasmai subhatra shavase namo namaha. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto thee, all auspicious Lord Shri Krishna, about whom glorification, remembrance, audience, prayers, hearing, and worship can at once cleanse the effects of all sins of the performer. So did anyone catch the extra little um, thing that Shukadev said that's different from the 9 processes of devotional service? And if you didn't, I'll tell you that he added audience. So what does that mean? What does audience mean? So Srila Prabhupada said, yeah, okay, you just sit in front of the deity and just see. Do nothing but see. Just look at Krishna. How nicely dressed is Krishna? How nicely dressed is Radharani? So I like to do that when I go for darshan in Vrindavan. And yesterday it was, I saw a beautiful, huge crown for Balaram and some nice little extra things on the turbans of Gornitai. And Radha Krishna also had some very nice flower. All these are made of flowers. Yes, we have our flower department. So one way to have audience to see Krishna is by sitting in front and looking. Another way is book distribution. Prabhupada says you show them the book and they say, let me see the book. And so, yes, there was one person in Eastern Europe. His roommate got the Gita, so he picked it up, read one line, for the soul, there's neither birth nor death. But this person, he was a drunkard. And one day he drank a little too much. Yamadutas came and took him to Yamaraj, and Yamaraj said, you are very sinful, you must suffer. And so what are you going to do now? And so that man said, for the soul, there is neither birth nor death. And Yamaraj said, okay, go back. And so then picked up the Gita, read it cover to cover, and got the address and joined the temple, became brahmachari. But then one day, after 6 months austerity, he said, oh, this is too much. I need a drink. He went back out, went to the bar, whole day. Night came and they were closing. And the owner said, now we're closing. What are you going to do now? And he got such a fright. Oh my God, Yamaraj said, and he went back to the temple and stayed. And so yes, even during 2022 marathon in December in India, there was one case in Tirupati where a person died. They were carrying him on the stretcher to the crematorium, and all of a sudden he jumped out and started running. And everyone was scared. Oh, it's a ghost, it's a ghost. He said, no, no, it's me, I'm back. They said, what happened? He said, yeah, Yamadutas took me to Yamaraj, and Yamaraj said, you got the wrong guy. So they took me back, and before they let me down, they said, if you don't want to see us again, go to ISKCON and get Bhagavad Gita as it is. So he was running to get the Gita, and when he got it, he was crying, I won't see the Yamadutas again. And the headline came in ISKCON News, Yamadutas help distribute books during marathon. So yeah, this is going on. So there's Smaranam, Vandanam, and Arhanam, so many things. And verse 2416, Shukadev says, and here there is an upgrade if you listen carefully to the verse. From Sarvadharma Pritaja, give up all varieties of religiousness, surrender to me. There is an upgrade in this verse from Shukadev. Let me offer my respectful obeisance again and again unto the all-auspicious Lord, Shri Krishna. The highly intellectual, simply by surrendering to his lotus feet, are relieved of all attachments to present and future existences, and without difficulty are progress towards spiritual existence. So, in Gita, Krishna says, I'll protect you from all sinful reactions. That means what you did in the past. And in this verse, Shukadeva is saying also present and future existences, attachments, he will protect you. And so then in the purport, a beautiful translation of verses 1864 to 66. My dear Arjuna, you are very dear to me, and therefore only for your good I'll disclose the most secret part of my instruction, simply this. Become a pure devotee of mine, give yourself to me only, and I promise you full spiritual existence by which you may gain the eternal right of transcendental loving service to me. So give yourself to me. It's more like a lover and beloved. He's saying give yourself. He's not just saying surrender. So yeah, surrender. What does it mean? Surrender. Why should we surrender? Prahlad Maharaj answers that question in his prayers in 7th canto, 9th chapter. In verse 21, we should surrender because our mind is trapping us with so many desires to be fulfilled. In 22, he says, I'm being crushed my time. Krishna should save me from the danger of being crushed by the wheel of time, past, present, and future. So, especially in our old age, we feel like we're being crushed by time. That's happening. And then so he's saying, Prabhupada says that we think, Prahlad says, I'm being crushed by this time factor, but we are thinking it's okay. This is ignorance. So in the 60s, there was one yogi guru who wrote a book, I'm okay, you're okay. Prabhupada said, I'm okay, you're not okay. That was Prabhupada. So, yes. And so then Prabhupada says, Prahlad is saying, please pick me up. Like Lord Chaitanya and Shikshastika, I'm your servant, I've fallen. Please pick me up. Then he said, well, Krishna may say, yeah, okay, why should I pick you up? Prapanam, because now I surrender. I rebelled against you and I'm suffering, and I realized I'm in a dangerous condition. So in verse 23, Prahlad gives the reason why we should surrender, because everything here is temporary, and gave the example of his father. He said, Prabhupada said, we've seen big leaders, ministers with all their powers, positions, in 1 minute can become finished. So I was in Christchurch, Australia, and in it, with an earthquake hit the city, and the whole city was finished in 45 seconds. Everything, the whole city. And I came there afterwards, and I did experience some aftershocks. One time I was sleeping, and I woke up at 2:30. I started chanting, and all of a sudden, this big, huge crash, like a big footstep came down and crashed. And I said, oh my God, it's an earthquake. My computer might fall on the floor. I should have thought, well, Krishna. Then I started chanting again. But anyway, another time it was a nighttime, I was going to sleep. And then all of a sudden I heard all this noise, and I thought, they have 4 children. I thought, oh, these children are really upstairs. They're making so much noise. But then the house started swaying back and forth, and I said, oh, it's not the children. And yeah, so that was an interesting experience. And driving, there were no roads. All the roads were finished, and there were signs. 40 miles per hour, temporary. 30 miles per hour, temporary. You really got the feeling that it's all temporary. Yes, our temple was destroyed. The pujari, it happened during 12 o'clock arti, and the whole altar jumped like about 8 feet away and forward on the floor. Pujari was holding marble gornitai, and the deity shattered, but the pujari was okay. And then they got new deities, which are exactly the same design, and now they're at the temple. So yes, everything is finished, temporary. And then verse 25, there's no happiness here. It's like a mirage in the desert. You might see a mirage, looks like water, but when you get there, it's gone. So happiness is like that. You see ahead of you when you're driving some water on the road, and the closer you get to it, the farther it goes away. And that's happiness in this material world. So these are kind of negative reasons why we should surrender, but there is a positive reason also, you will get special causeless mercy if you surrender to Krishna. And Prahlad Maharaj says, yes, I got that mercy. So then, if we follow this process, we'll develop attachment for Krishna and go back to Godhead. So I'd like to share with you an example of a lady in Mayapur who went back to Godhead. And she was just a housewife, but her husband was, they were traveling around the world. He was a famous astrologer. So everybody, I was following it on Facebook also. And so the husband, he gave a message to everyone. And what he said was, she's so happy now and blissful. She said, you gave me so many wonderful days, took me to the most amazing places in this world, presented me the most loving friends and family. I had so many wonderful times, but this by far is the best time of my life. You saved the best for last. So here she is dying, and she said, this is the best time of my life. How can you say that? And he said she stopped eating solid food to become more internal and focus and going back to Godhead. So, but we want her eternal well-being, not the temporary so-called health. Many people sympathized and said, we pray that she is well soon. And I answer, yes, yes, she will very soon be perfectly well forever. Uh, Other friends said, I feel very sad to see Mataji in this condition. And he said, who is sad? She's blissful, we're blissful. The body that was given to cross this ocean has done his service. She crossed, it's glorious. She doesn't need the boat. So it's disintegrating into the elements again because material energy can't cross to the spiritual realm. Body, chakras, mind, intelligence, and ego stay put on this side. Only the soul arrives, and the devotee gets his eternal spiritual body to serve the Lord. Other friends said, I hope she recovers soon. And he says, yes, we lost our spiritual identity by misusing our free will. We want to go in the material world away from Krishna. We had so many births and deaths here in this dark world. Now at last she's recovering her spiritual identity again. So yes, she will recover soon. Other friends said, I pray she may rest in peace. And he said, we're not the body. We don't go inside a coffin. Only the body does. And the body's not resting. It's just becoming dust. For us, the party is just beginning. The loving service and activity is just starting. She's going to go back to Godhead and join the party. And she was the life of the party. I saw one video of her, and everyone's kind of morose, like somebody massaging her hands, massaging her feet. And and she was sitting upright. And, there was a kirtan, soft, like meditative. And then she just raised her hand. Come on, dance, dance. So she was the life of the party already. And she was going to join the party. Um, and actually, she had gurus, Radhanath Swami, Tipitaka Swami, coming and reading and chanting to her. Amazing. So others said, don't give up on life. And so he replied, life is eternal. You can't give it up. Only the material has to be given up willingly or unwillingly. And so then others said, there's a doctor who saved many lives. And so he said, doctors can't save lives. Only Krishna can save our life from this material world. He and his representatives can save us. Mechanics can repair the car. They are not saving the car. The car is not conscious. So at this point, the supreme doctor is Krishna, and the medicine is the holy name. Other friends said, may you have strength in this time of difficulty. And he said, by the grace of Krishna, he sent his divine grace, who gave us perfect knowledge of the nature of the soul. And by the grace of Guru and Gauranga, nothing is difficult. Every day I'm feeling more grateful I was given her association for 25 years. And together we circle the world, sharing Krishna with all of you. I'm grateful Krishna Chaitanya is bringing her closer under protection of his golden aura. So please don't feel offended. I ask how we are, and I honestly explain to you our lucky situation. I read your messages to her daily, and she listens with a sweet smile and hands on her heart. So then, on Ekadashi, on the second day of the Kirtan Mela in Mayapur, she asked her husband two questions. Are the deities open? He said yes. It was Mangalarti time. And then she asked her husband, astrologer, is it a good time to leave? And he said yes, and she left. So no doubt that she got the highest destination. So I'll stop here. If there's any questions or comments, you can ask now. Well, if there's no questions, I can just tell one more story about another lady leaving her body. So the one I just told, was not a Prabhupada disciple. And here's another one who was not a Prabhupada disciple. So she was dying and she went unconscious. She came back and she said, Krishna asked me to go with him. And I said, no. She went unconscious again for a while. And then she came back and she said, Radharani asked me to go. And I said, yes. Well, these are devotees, just regular devotees leaving their bodies. So you can also do it. You surrender to Krishna. And because so many reasons why you should surrender. And it's all temporary, no happiness really, no permanent happiness here. There is eternal happiness, which we can taste even now. Because when in the spiritual world, everyone is not older than 16 years old. So they're very happy. It's the best age. If you remember when you're 16, um, you if you're older than that, you might wish you could be again. So yeah, any questions at all, you can ask. Well, if there's no questions, we could stop early.
Hare Krishna, Narayani Devi, thank you very much for a wonderful class. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Could you explain, you mentioned that there was one extra and it was
Oh,
audience. No, you explained it a bit. What was the Sanskrit term? And could you just
yeah. The Sanskrit term is either ikshata or aikshata. Let me just check. Oh, I don't have that verse with me. Okay,
Ikshana?
I'll look it up on database. I do have it open. So we will go to that verse. I don't have the Sanskrit there. So we'll look it up. 2, 4,
I think Krishna
6.
saying Ikshana.
Okay. Okay, here we go. Here's the Sanskrit. Oh no, that was verse 15. Okay, let's go back. Here we go. Yeah, I did have the Sanskrit. I did say it's for you. Yad kirtanam, yad smaranam, yad ikshanam. So ikshanam means audience. Let's see. Yeah, audience. And that's how Prabhupada interpreted it. And I was quoting from his lecture where he said there's two ways you can do ikshanam. And one way is sit in front of the deity and just look. If you're too troubled, you can't chant, you can't read, just just go and sit in front of the deities and look at them. There was one Muslim person who was following Burijan Prabhu, and he was saying, I have a problem because in my religion we don't really accept deities. So how can we know that they're real? So Burijan told him, okay, you just go and stand in front of the deities that was here in Vrindavan, Krishna Balaram, as long as you can, and see. So he did that. He went from the deity, stood there. He came back to Burijan and said, yes, now I understand how they're real. So Ikshanam. And when I was giving this seminar just now in Sydney, Australia, a couple of weeks ago, there was one devotee, and she said, yes, I'm so happy because the last 25 years, I've been just sitting in front of my deities and looking at them. They're very beautiful deities, like sometimes the whole day. And she says, now you've validated my service. She was extremely happy to hear that looking at the deities can also be a service to Krishna. So Prabhupada had so many ways that we can become Krishna conscious. He even said we can go back to Godhead by eating prasadam. And we had one time I was giving a Bhakti Shastri class, and one old man in my class, he was 80 years old, but he had such an appetite he could eat huge plates of prasadam. So I was asking all the devotees, what's your favorite of the 9 process of devotional service? And some said Shavanam, some Kirtanam, and the different ones. And he raised his hand, Prasada Sevanam. So yeah, he left his body here in Vrindavan, and I'm sure he did get his desires fulfilled. He did go back to Godhead and got as much prasadam as he could eat. Yes, yes. So yeah, so what you have any other question on that?
No, that's perfect. Thank you very much, Ikshanam. I think Anupam has a question. Thank you, Mother.
Okay. Anupam.
Hare Krishna, Mother Narayani. Thank you so much for the class. It's really nice. So, I was always a little bit confounded by the part in the 10th canto where some of the gopis are held back from the rasa dance. And
Right.
and by being held back, it's described that the last vestiges of their
Mm.
karma or whatever anartas may be there were burned up. And then they were able to go back to Goloka. But my understanding up to that point was that in order to get to Gokul, you need to be an Uttama Adhikari and completely free from karma and anartas and so on and so forth. But your class and some other information I came upon recently has kind of changed that way of thinking, and I was hoping you could expand on it. So my question is it possible that if perhaps by Prabhupada's mercy or by some special mercy, even someone who's not a pure devotee could still think of Krishna at the time of death and thus go to Gokul where Krishna is performing his pastimes and get purified to the point of being able to return to Goloka, or is it you have to be a Uttama Adhikari to do that?
Prabhupada has answered that question. First of all, it is his mercy. When he was giving a class in Los Angeles, this is told by Jayapataka Maharaj, he was giving a class and he said, you have to be 100% free of desires to go back to Godhead. And the devotees are kind of looking at the floor. And he said, okay, 90% free. Devotees are looking at the floor again. And finally he said 80%. And then he went off his Vyasasan, looked back at the devotees, 75%. So Prabhupada did give us that concession, but what does that mean, 75%? So we have to go to a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam 1, 2, 18. Nasta Priyesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So that verse says that by serving Bhagavatam, the Bhagavatas, you should serve Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. And by doing that, you come to the level of Nishta, Bhaktir Bhavati, Naishtiki. So Naishtiki means Nishta. So in his lecture, Srila Prabhupada said, he also quoted 75%. If you're 75% free, you can go. It doesn't have to be Bhava Prema. But 70, and he said, that means Nishta. You have to come to Nishta. That's what this verse says. Almost all the impurities are gone. The verse says, Nasta prayesh abhadreshu. Almost all the abhadras, prayesha, almost all are gone. So then the verses continue after that. It's tadada jastamo bhava. That what's gone is the passion and ignorance modes. You come to the mode of goodness, and your modes are balanced. And so goodness is the lower modes are under control, and you can use them for Krishna service, but you're not controlled by them. So that's Nishta. And if you can make it up to Nishta, in another lecture, he said 60%. So Prabhupada is he is making it easier, and he will take care of the anarthas for us if we can just at least get to Nishta. Yes. So those gopis who were held back were described as sadhana siddhas. They were, they went back to Godhead because of their perfection in sadhana. So they're a different group from the gopis who were coming down, Nityasiddhas, who were coming from the spiritual world. They had to go and take birth one more time to learn from the Nityasiddhas how to serve Krishna in the spiritual world. Yeah, there's a long purport in 10th canto, chapter 29, and you can look it up and read it. At the beginning, it is all explained. Okay, Bhima Prabhu.
Haribo Narayani Prabhujini.
Genie, that's a new one.
Makes sense. What about two things? Just two quick questions. One is we're told that one of the liberations is to be on Krishna's planet, Goloka. That if we wish to be on Krishna's planet, that's a form of liberation. Is something a devotee shouldn't have that desire, so to speak. Like that shouldn't be the reason why. Because he wants to associate with the Lord. It's really wild. It's such a dichotomy as to, we got to get back to Godhead versus, one of the forms of liberation is wanting to go back to Godhead. The second thing is that shouldn't we find it in between the lines of Chaitanya Charitamrita?
Oh, wait,
and
one question at a time.
Yes. Okay.
So the first one, there is a verse in Bhagavatam which explains 5 kinds of liberation. And that verse refers to Vaikuntha planets, not to Goloka. It refers, some people want to have the same form, some people want to have association, good co-association, and as you said, what did you say? You said another one. Yeah, they want to be on the same planet. So there's 5 kinds, and those are rejected by devotees. We only want to serve Krishna. And that we can do even now on this planet. So, and Prabhupada did say in many, many purports, we should desire to go back to Godhead. Like again, in first canto, can't remember which chapter, he just said, we should desire to go back to Godhead. When devotees asked Srila Prabhupada, Virgin asked, should I desire to go back to Godhead or should I desire to stay here life after life? And then Prabhupada's answer was, don't make me come back here for you. And then Achyutananda asked the question, should we desire to stay here life after life or should we desire to go back to Godhead? Prabhupada gave a different answer. He said, if you're a preacher, you're already back to Godhead. Krishna is talking with you. So Bhakti readers and pujaris might have that experience. Yes, but those verses that you shouldn't desire this, that, those are for people who want to go to Vaikuntha, not for those who want to go to Goloka. And of course, our desire should be service, that we want to serve Krishna. And again, yes, so our position now, until we get to Nishta, is we should desire to go back to Godhead. We should have that desire. Lord Chaitanya, in the 4th verse of Shikshastika, it is connected to Nishta, Ruchi. And that's where Lord Chaitanya says birth after birth. When you have Ruchi, then it's for you, it's the same here or there. And so you can just stay here. And what's your second question?
Well, actually, kind of I was going to say, Lord Chaitanya says in this Shastakam, birth after birth, right? Handle me roughly, right?
Yeah.
Also, Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Bhagavatam Rita mentions that Krishna, I don't know much. I just know what I've heard, and he goes the protagonist of the story goes from planet to planet, getting increasingly higher up.
All right.
He just so wants to be with Krishna as a cowherd boy.
Nice.
So I also heard, this is curiosity killed the cat, that we're on the so-called proverbial swan back to Godhead, that, oh, there comes the horn. I'll ask afterwards. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Haribo. Thank you.
Thank you, Narayani Devi, for clarifying what our aspirations should be, which is devotional service. Thank you.
Yeah.
Darshan time, dear devotees.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. That spiritual master is the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth, and from him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, and of the poor of the Lord of mountains. O Master, forgive us for us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. May your fame be spread all over the universe. We take shelter at your lotus feet. Hare ki jai.
Yeah. Temple Room Ki Jai. Thank you very much, Janitai Prabhu, for the darshan. Sundarananda Prabhu, it's nice to see you and Amala Gopi and your father. Please tell him we say hi.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, my main concern with going back to Godhead is that I want to go there with all my friends, and I want to know that it's them, my friends from this lifetime. I think. Do you think Krishna can accommodate this desire, Bhima Prabhu?
I'm not your friend. I'm your brother, and I'm not going. I'm not going back. There's just no way. There's no way. I've done a deep dive, and if I was like Gopal in the Bhagavatam Rita, I would have hopped off at like probably, definitely not the Sages planets or the Pole Star. I would have hopped off at the first heavenly planet. I know this for a fact. Uh, if I can just keep out of trouble and not head to hell, then I feel pretty good. But I'll probably be jumping off at the first planet. But it's wonderful that Krishna gives us, according to our desire, all facility based on what we deserve. And I just think that the only blessing I have is these what we call so-called little things, like attending Bhagavatam class or talking to the devotees or distributing books or prasadam or something like that. We get these little mercies. They're big mercies, but they're just, it requires so little of us to do the right thing, to try to help people become aware that they do have an eternal friend. And they also have eternal friends in the form of the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Bhima Prabhu. Would anyone like to speak? Anything that stuck out to you in class? Yeah, Narayani Devidasi is wonderful. She's a Vaishnavi, Prabhupada disciple, exemplary Vaishnavi, servant Srila Prabhupada selflessly. Okay. Isaiah, Annabelle, it's a little quiet here. Can you please chant loudly? Say in the sky if you're here, please. Okay, go ahead.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you, perfect. Isaiah Prabhu, Annabelle. Who's that?
I named him Henry.
What's that?
Henry.
Henry, that's Henry. All right. Henry Prabhu, did you hear? They named their pet after you. This is how great you are, Henry Prabhu.
What?
I'm gonna, if I have a pet, I'll name him Bhima. Is that okay? Or just Kaviraj, Kavi, a hamster. Gerbil. Okay. Shrimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, all the assembled Vaishnavas ki jai. Thank you very much.
A skunk.
Skunk.
Pepe Le Pew.